Welcome to the Pre-Vegans podcast, where we explore the world of plant-based living with kindness, curiosity, and compassion. In today's episode, we're diving into two powerful topics: compassionate activism and the inspiring vegan origin story of Ella Majors. Whether you're just starting your journey or already exploring plant-based living, you won't want to miss these insights on how to inspire change and make a difference. Now, here's your host, Shawnee Russell.
Thank you and welcome back to the Pre-Vegans podcast. I'm Shawnee Russell, and today's episode is packed with wisdom and inspiration. But first, we're kicking things off with a question from the mailbag. This one comes from Sophia in Los Angeles, California.
What are some easy vegan meals I can start with that don't require a lot of cooking skills?
Sophia, I love this question. Let's dig in. Starting your vegan journey doesn't have to mean spending hours in the kitchen or mastering complex recipes. There are plenty of quick and easy, delicious meals you can whip up with minimal effort. Here are a few ideas to get you started. Vegan burrito bowls. Layer cooked rice or quinoa, black beans, salsa, guacamole, and a handful of greens. Top it with some store-bought vegan sour cream or a drizzle of tahini for extra flavor. No cooking skills are required, and it's super satisfying. Avocado toast, a classic. Toast some whole grain bread, mash a ripe avocado on top, and sprinkle with salt, pepper, and red chili flakes. You can also add toppings like cherry tomatoes, hemp seeds, or nutritional yeast for a flavorful boost. Simple stir fry. Grab a frozen bag of stir-fry veggies, toss them in a hot pan with some soy sauce, garlic powder, and a little sesame oil. Pair it with rice or noodles, and you've got a quick, healthy meal. Chickpea salad sandwich. Mash canned chickpeas with vegan mayo, mustard, and some spices. Paprika, garlic powder, salt, and pepper are some options. Add chopped celery or pickles for crunch. Spread it on bread or enjoy it in a lettuce wrap. Vegan pasta. Cook your favorite pasta, then toss it with marinara sauce, olive oil, and nutritional yeast, which is a cheesy vegan seasoning. You can add some spinach or cherry tomatoes to make it even better. Smoothie bowls. Blend frozen bananas, berries, and a splash of plant-based milk until thick and creamy. Pour into a bowl and top with granola, chia seeds, and fresh fruit. It's a no-cook breakfast or snack that feels like a treat. Vegan tacos. Warm up some tortillas and fill them with canned black beans or lentils, salsa, and your favorite toppings like avocado, shredded lettuce, or vegan cheese. And then finally, we have the quick Buddha bowl. Combine cooked grains like rice or quinoa with canned beans, steamed veggies, and a drizzle of tahini or store-bought vegan dressing. It's filling, healthy, and totally customizable. The key is to keep it simple and stock up on pantry staples like canned beans, grains, frozen veggies, and sauces. Start with meals you already enjoy and swap in vegan ingredients. Trust me, once you get the hang of it, you'll see how easy and fun it can be building delicious plant-based meals without much fuss. And don't forget, this is a journey. Celebrate the small wins and experiment at your own pace. You've got this. Now let's dive into one of the most powerful tools for vegan advocacy: compassion. Whether you're just starting out or have been living plant-based for years, this next segment is all about how to communicate effectively, connect meaningfully, and inspire change in others without confrontation.
Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful tools for vegan advocacy: compassion. Whether you're just starting out on your vegan journey or you've been living plant-based for years, this episode is all about how to communicate effectively, connect meaningfully, and inspire change in others without confrontation. Now I get it. Talking about veganism can feel tricky, especially when emotions run high. You're passionate, you care deeply, and you want to make a difference. But here's the thing. The way we communicate can be just as important as the message itself. And according to leading advocates, compassion is the key to creating real, lasting change. Let's talk about why, and how you can start applying it today. What does compassionate advocacy look like? When it comes to advocacy, one of the best pieces of advice I've come across is this: take a stand, not a position. Here's the difference. Taking a position can feel like drawing a line in the sand. It's an us versus them mindset that can easily lead to arguments and defensiveness. Taking a stand, on the other hand, is about living your values authentically. It's about showing the world what's possible by embodying the change you want to see. Experts like Earthling Ed and Robert Cheek have mastered this approach. Ed, for example, doesn't rely on accusations or heated debates to make his point. Instead, he asks thought-provoking questions that invite people to reflect and explore their own beliefs. Robert takes a similar path by leading with positivity, showing the world how joyful, energetic, and exciting life can be when it's fueled by plants. By taking a stand, you show others the benefits of veganism in a way that feels inspiring, not overwhelming or judgmental. Why compassion works better than confrontation. Let's be real. When someone feels attacked, their walls go up. Criticism, even when well-meaning, can trigger defensiveness and shut down the possibility of conversation. But compassion? That creates a space where curiosity and connection can flourish. Advocates like the Impactful Vegan know this well. Instead of using scare tactics or guilt, they focus on meeting people where they are, sharing delicious recipes, practical tips, and encouragement. It's this kind of inclusive, approachable advocacy that helps people see veganism as something they want to try rather than something they feel pressured into. It's also important to remember that compassion isn't just for the people you're trying to reach. It's for yourself and your community, too. Advocacy driven by anger can lead to burnout, not just for you, but for others in the movement. When we create a supportive, uplifting environment, we help everyone stay energized and motivated. How to communicate with compassion. So, how can you start applying compassionate communication in your own conversations? Here are a few tips from some of the best in the game. 1. Lead by example. The best way to advocate is to show, not tell. Let your enthusiasm, health, and joy shine through. When people see how fulfilling veganism can be, they're naturally drawn to learn more. 2. Listen first. Sometimes people just need to feel heard before they're ready to consider a new perspective. Take the time to ask questions and understand where they're coming from. 3. Meet people where they are. Not everyone is ready to go vegan overnight, and that's okay. Encourage small, manageable changes, like trying meatless Mondays or swapping out one meal a day. 4. Share stories, not just facts. Facts are important, but personal stories are what really stick with people. Why do you care about veganism? What positive changes has it brought to your life? Share those moments. They're relatable and powerful. 5. Find common ground. Whether it's health, the environment, or animal welfare, there's almost always a shared value you can connect on. Use that as your starting point. 6. Be patient and kind. Change takes time and every step counts. Celebrate progress, no matter how small, and avoid pushing people to go faster than they're ready for. When to use a tougher approach. Now, that's not to say there's never a time for bold, direct activism. Organizations like Direct Action Everywhere and Anonymous for the Voiceless use confrontational tactics to expose the harsh realities of animal agriculture, and their work has raised awareness on a global scale. But even in these cases, the goal is to create a wake-up call, not alienation. For most personal conversations, though, softer, empathetic approaches tend to be far more effective. Think of it as planting seeds. You may not see the results immediately, but over time, those seeds can grow into real, meaningful change. The heart of veganism. Compassion. At the end of the day, veganism isn't just about what we eat. It's about creating a kinder, more compassionate world, and the way we engage with others should reflect that. By leading with empathy, listening without judgment, and meeting people where they are, we can inspire more people to explore plant-based living in a way that feels inviting and empowering. So the next time you talk to someone about veganism, remember, your kindness and patience might just be the spark they need to start their own journey.
Thanks, V. Compassion is truly at the heart of why I chose this path, and I'm sure it plays a role in our next guest story as well. Today, we're thrilled to share the vegan origin story of Ella Majors. Ella is an incredible advocate, author, and founder of Sexy Fit Vegan. She's been a leader in showing how veganism is not only about kindness and compassion, but also about empowering yourself to live your best life. Let's hear how her journey began.
I was actually 7 years old when I connected the food on my plate with the animal it was. And just a fun little story, a tidbit about that is I was in first grade and I got out of school. My mom picked me up and said, "How's your day?" And I said, "You know what? We learned about this guy named Daniel Boone." And for anyone who doesn't know, Daniel Boone is one of our first American folk heroes, and he wore a raccoon hat and he carried around a shotgun. He was, an outdoorsy guy. And I said, "This guy was so mean, Mom. He shot animals and he ate them." And my mom was honest with me, and she said, "Well, Ella, we're just very fortunate. We get to buy our meat at the grocery store these days. We don't have to do that ourselves anymore." And I stopped and I thought about that for a moment, and that's when I realized that was an actual chicken on my plate. That was an actual, pig on my plate. And when that happened, I was pretty horrified, and I said, "Well, Mom, I'm never doing that again." And that was it. Never ate meat again. So that was my going vegetarian story. And then as I got older, and back then, this is how many years ago? I don't even want to, oh my gosh, 1987. So back then there was very little information out there about, where our food comes from. So I had to really dig in, and I did somehow. I can't even remember how I did that. We didn't have the internet back then or anything, but I think I reached out to PETA and Vegan Outreach, and they sent me information, and I really started to learn about where our food came from, dairy and eggs, and by 15, I kind of got the big picture and went totally vegan at 15. So it was my origin, my foundation for everything I do in my life is really about animals and suffering and helping relieve suffering for animals. We learn about our programming, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about, and Bruce Lipton talks about this, up until the age of 7. Like by the time you're about 7, things are already really hardwired. And I maybe missed that cutoff, by a very narrow margin, when my mind was open enough and not hardwired enough that I could absorb that information. And then I had the advantage of parents that didn't say, "Well, forget that, no." They didn't say, "Yay." They thought it would be a phase, but, they let me pick the sides off, of our dinner table. And they really then started embracing it, because I started writing in school, in little essays in middle school, talking about why are we eating animals? We have so many other things that we can eat. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So they figured out pretty quickly that this was not going anywhere, and that this was really a lifelong path for me. And then they supported me, and not only supported me, but started following in suit. So my dad became vegetarian and then vegan. My sister became vegetarian and then vegan. My mother is now vegan. And so I just want to point that out, that, I think there was a real advantage for me having made this realization so early, and then having the space and the support to explore that. Well, I was 15 when I went totally vegan, and really jumped into the advocacy side, the activist side, and joined a group. We did have a group in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, a vegan group that I joined and I became a leader of. So before I was driving, I was organizing protests and getting my mom to drop me off outside the First store on Black Friday and with our signs. And, back then it was like this thought that, hey, I didn't know what was going on. Then I knew, and then I changed. So if I just logically let everybody know, then everybody's going to change because I believe people are compassionate at heart, and it was a pretty rough awakening, I think, for me, doing all this activism and the protests and seeing how people would find out but didn't seem to want to know, number one. And then when they did, it didn't necessarily mean they were ready to change their behavior. So that started a journey for me of, okay, well, what's my how? How am I going to? Because this maybe isn't the best method. I thought if it was just delivering the information. And then I realized, well, maybe it's not just delivering the information. So that's when I really went the route of using the fitness industry as my jumping off point, using my own health, my own body, my own physique to inspire people and thinking that that might be the way to go. And really that was a much more effective, what seemed to me, just anecdotally, of people coming up to me as I started to get stronger and build a very lean, muscular physique early on in my 20s. And people would ask me, what do you do? How do you do that? And it was like this opening of like, they're asking me what I'm doing and I'm vegan. So let me just tell you about eating plant-based. And so that's the route I went.
A big thank you to Ella for sharing her story, and thank you for tuning into today's episode. Be sure to visit prevegans.com for resources, past episodes, and details on how you can join our challenge to take steps towards a plant-based lifestyle. Be sure to visit prevegans.com for resources, past episodes, and details on how you can join our challenge to take steps towards a plant-based lifestyle. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay compassionate.
You're listening to the Pre-Vegans podcast found on the Vegans Explore Network. For more episodes and to learn how to participate in the Pre-Vegans Challenge, be sure to visit prevegans.com. Today's episode was edited and produced by Sean A. Russell.